Wow. What a turn of events. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for jumping back on. We had to take a little break, digest everything a little bit. We're supposed to come on in the 98th pick. I saw Dylan Gabriel get drafted, and I said, come on, Tucker, let's go. We got to go. Did not see this coming. Obviously, the subject is Shedeur Sanders, and we are now currently, the New England Patriots just took their fourth offensive player, Jared Wilson, center from Georgia, with the 95th pick. 95 players have been selected in the 2025 NFL Draft. None with the name Shedeur Sanders. I warned people of the shrinking pool and that he didn't fit every scheme, and that when he came to town, there was going to be a media circus that came with it. I feel like I was on the cautious side with Shedeur. As a player, I evaluated him. I ranked him third quarterback, 21st overall. And I did that with the understanding that I truly, and you look at his traits, I truly believe he's the best pure passer in this class in terms of layering the ball, touch, delivering the ball accurately, leading receivers 2 yards, leading receivers open. Then the fast processing. I think he's the best in the class inside the pocket, understands what defense is trying to do, been around the game his whole life. Fast thinker. Teflon tough. I told you his versus pressure reel this last year on plays, snaps versus pressure as a passer was in the 220s. Every other guy was like 130 to 180. Saw a lot more pressure. Kept popping up. Not the biggest guy. 6'1", 212. Tough as nails. Ready for any moment, too. Big moments, no problem. But the lack of the ball energy, meaning arm strength for people who just want to go simplify it, lack of size, not a running threat, and the Caleb-like bad habits. Those are all the traits as a football player. The Caleb-like bad habits were probably, a lot of it had to do with the fact he was playing behind that offensive line and had to carry this team and had to probably look for bigger chunks. There was no running game supporting him. There wasn't pass protection that was adequate enough. There was a defense that was up and down at best during his career at Colorado. So those habits can be coached out, just like Caleb Williams' habits hopefully are going to be coached out by Ben Johnson. That's why they made a coaching change. We've got to save this number 1 overall pick. Generational talent, right? The problem is with Caleb Williams, he is a mobile running threat. He does have an outstanding arm. He can create and run and get away from all this trouble. But you saw even with all that athleticism as a rookie that Caleb Williams has, it still isn't enough in that league, man. You got defensive ends at 260-plus pounds running 4.51. I guarantee you, if he ever were to run a 40, and he never will officially, Shedeur Sanders, and wisely so, it's not shy of 4.7, and it's probably in the 4.8s, okay? So that's the player on the field. We can work out some of those bad habits. There's no question about it. Get him with a guy like Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland. I've said that all along. Get him with a Mike McDaniel in Miami. Get him with coaches that really don't. It's not about being the biggest, the tallest, the fastest, the strongest arm. It's about fast processing, accuracy, quick decisions, pop, pop, pop. That's how the offense is supposed to run. We've seen with Stefanski, right? Throughout his career. It was Kirk Cousins, won 10 games, I believe, made a playoff run. Who was it? Hey, Dan, you back there? I don't know if Dan's back there. We were looking up Case Keenum. I always forget Case Keenum. I always want to call him a McCown. Case Keenum. Won 11 games with Case Keenum. You know what Case Keenum and Kirk Cousins have in common? Not very big. Don't have great arm strength, and not mobile, not running threats, okay? Shedeur Sanders. So in the right system, he absolutely can thrive. He can absolutely be on a team and lead that team and win 10, 11 games. If Case Keenum can, I promise you, I've been doing this a long time, I promise you Shedeur Sanders can. That's the football aspect of it. But with that, the pool is smaller. And I said, New Orleans, it's not going to make sense. I've been saying this to you for a while. New Orleans, it's not going to make sense. I think there's an appreciation for undersized guys who aren't very mobile. I said it a couple hours ago when we were on here. I'm an undersized quarterback. I was terrible at it by these standards. So walk on at Richmond. Kellen Moore, undersized quarterback, didn't have the biggest arm, not overly mobile, right? But we learn how to process quickly, get the ball out, throw with touch, lead receivers, get the ball out early, right? And so he has a great appreciation, as do I. But guys like us, it's an infatuation with, okay, I see the game the way I see it. I can process it the way I do. Now interject someone with the traits I never had. And so that's why working with Dak Prescott, as Kellen Moore did, working with Justin Herbert, working with Jalen Hurts. And once you get with that skill level and you can implement your processing and your system, you don't want to go back to dealing with what you were born with, right? So it's a fascinating thing to me. So I want you to look at this as like a job pool. You go and you put out your resume to a bunch of different places, okay? And you put it out to 32 teams. But I don't know, 15 of them, let's say, don't have a job opening, right? They don't have a job opening because they have Patrick Mahomes, they have Josh Allen, right? They've got Justin Herbert, they've got Jalen Hurts, they've got all, they've got their guy. So now the pool shrinks. Then you look at the rest of the pool and you say, well, I'm skilled to do this, but this company is requiring a different skill. And so that shrinks. That shrinks New Orleans, right? That shrinks the Giants. And even those teams were willing to see, let's kick the tires. Let's meet. Let's see, maybe we can do it with this skill set. We would be willing to try to force it in there. Let's see. But then after you turn in your resume, right, and you try to figure out all the skill sets and you get the pool shrunk down, there's always that last list. Even in this last job, I had 9 different companies I was trying to shop this project to. And it shrunk, whether I didn't want, they didn't, however it worked. And it keeps shrinking down. Well, Shedeur had it in his mind through his camp and mostly his father in that situation that they were going to take a couple out of the pool because they didn't want to go to those organizations. Remember the narrative in October, November, December. Coach Prime went on, was boisterous about, I'm going to kind of handle this thing. And there's some organizations that my son's not going to play for. That's his right. The Mannings, that was, I could still in my mind, I was sat in in New York in the theater there. And I still in my mind can remember how awkward it was with Eli holding the jersey and Arch standing next to him doing the interview. And Eli standing there saying, I think we made it perfectly clear that this is not where we're going. And the Mannings figured out a way to do it. John Elway, similar stuff. So, it's not the first time. We walked through all of this for months, okay? But as that process is starting, it's not rumors, it's not back channel stuff. It's in the public. It's out there in the media. He is using the media as a platform, Coach Prime is, to explain that my son's he's not available to everybody. I'll decide the teams he's available and not available to. Well, then he goes to the combine, and I explained this, and it wasn't, here's the thing, and I said it at the time, anyone who was with us for this run, who was with us from October, or maybe jumped on in December, or even jumped on right at the combine, and have been watching the show, I explained, it's shocking to me that these networks and these reporters that have all the information in the world, insiders, connections, played for these coaches, played with or for these general managers. I know they know the stuff I know. Why is no one talking about the fact? Because I know of 2 teams, and I wasn't asking. I never asked anyone, how'd the interview go with Shedeur? They came to me and were like, whew. And it wasn't like, don't tell anyone. And it wasn't like, hey, you got to race out this news. They just wanted to talk because they were like, what just happened? Yeah, we just met with Shedeur. We had like 25 other, 40, some cases 45 other interviews at the Combine. 44 of them came in, and it was, their livelihood was on the line. Think about any job interview that you've gone into that you want the job. Professional, selling yourself. You want to make sure that that person knows that you're going to be a great hire, and they know that you want to come work for them, right? So they walked out of the two individuals I spoke to with organizations that had interviews at the Combine with Shedeur, walked out and like, no disrespect, no incidents, nothing said, just didn't get the sense that he cared what we thought about him, which is a weird thing when you're doing 44 other interviews and those guys, yes, sir. And like, again, he wasn't disrespectful, but like bright-eyed and trying to sell yourself and show your energy. He didn't come in with that. So now this pool that's already shrunk by scheme and teams that have the Josh Allens and Patrick Mahomes and the Jalen Hurts and the Justin Herberts and the list goes on. Now it's shrinking. Now, and I told you at the time too, it was two teams in the top 10 that needed quarterbacks at the time. Well, after the Combine, they went out and got quarterbacks. Still could take them. So now it's shrunk even more. And so the crazy part is that Shedeur already had, because of his size, because of his lack of arm strength, because of his lack of mobility, already had a pool that was smaller than other guys like Jackson Dart, Cam Ward, Tyler Shuck, Jalen Milroe. He already had this shrunk pool, okay? But then he went and turned off some teams with his attitude. And then I told you recently, there's I have been told by two different sources that the back and forth with an install package with the New York Giants and Brian Daboll, so it did not go smoothly. And I don't need to give any more details. So now that's a third organization that I'm aware of. I don't know if there are any others. And I'm not some anonymous scout, and I know everyone's screaming, well, anonymous scouts and all these reports. I'm telling you that I'm talking to teams, and teams are telling me this information, and this is what happened. And I'm not hiding behind it, and I'm not against Shedeur. I started this whole thing saying I think he can be a 10, 11, even 12-game winner in the NFL in the right system. Okay? I wasn't shocked when he didn't get drafted in the first round. In fact, I said, if it's not Pittsburgh, and if it is Pittsburgh, it's going to be Coach Tomlin stepping in because the personnel department, I don't think that's the direction they necessarily want to go. They have a plan, okay? And if it's not Tomlin, if it's not Pittsburgh at 21, he's not going in the first round. We've been saying this all week long. And I told you from this jump, it ain't New Orleans and it ain't the New York Giants. So when he gets to the second round, I do the top 10 picks, do an exercise just to give you guys a feel of who could be coming off the board when in the first 10 picks of the second round. Didn't put him in there. Put Tyler Shuck in there to New Orleans at 40. Okay? That's my mini mock from earlier today. No Shedeur Sanders, Tyler Shuck at 40. But for as much as I warned and as dire a situation as I knew it was from everything that I've told you and some more, I didn't foresee this. I did not foresee this. We are now at pick 100, folks. Pick 100, and Charles Grant, the William and Mary left tackle. Really good athlete. Developmental project as a left tackle. William and Mary is Richmond's arch nemesis, our rival. Know a lot about him, but I don't think many people in the world would think that Charles Grant, a developmental left tackle from William and Mary, would be drafted at pick 99, and Shedeur Sanders would still be sitting at home with his family and his group wondering, where am I going to go play? And what's even crazier, I talked to you just moments ago about it's a shrinking pool because of the scheme. And I told you 2 teams, organizations with coaches, and Mike McDaniel and Kevin Stefanski, Miami, Cleveland, respectively. They don't mind. They're good with that. Tua, Mike McDaniel, right? I just told you the 2 cats that Stefanski's won 21 games in 2 seasons. I think it was back-to-back seasons, 21 combined regular season games. But Cleveland, who, remember, private workouts, meeting with Coach Prime. Coach Prime comes out and says they're going to take one of my 2 sons, meaning Shedeur and Travis. They took neither. They traded out of 2, okay? They traded out of 2 to move back and got an unbelievable deal. And we'll get to Cleveland and a bunch of other teams I think have been huge winners in day 2 of the draft and throughout the draft. We're going to get that. Our boy Mench at some point is going to come out of sabbatical. He's going to join me here in the set, and we're going to go through all the teams that we think have done the best work. Great picks. I've got guys written down. We got all sorts of fun stuff to do with you for about the next hour, okay? As we wrap up the 3rd round, and we're going to do a review show. But Dillon Gabriel is the pick at 94 overall, the 5th quarterback taken. And Cleveland passed on both the Colorado Buffaloes. And it just makes you wonder how are these meetings go? Or is one side perceiving how things are going differently than the teams? It's a fascinating case study, but it's also a good reminder to everyone out there, like literally everyone out there, anything you do in life. And I distinctly remember talking to Conor, who's our executive producer here, Conor Nevins, and talking to him about the phraseology of what I was hearing and how and I remember saying, Conor, I want to make sure I explain this right. And I'm not trying to break news. It's not what I do. I stay in my lane. It's how I've gotten kind of where I am and what I'm doing. But I have information. No one else seems to want to be talking about it. Usually I just wait for someone else to report it, and then we can talk the football aspect of it. And I remember saying to Conor, like, how do I explain there's only 6 teams in the top 10 that need quarterbacks, and he may have just erased 2 that need him. And I get that he maybe he and I remember saying at the time, he's like, well, and Conor was like, well, just explain that we've said all along, and we didn't say, Coach Prime said all along, we're going to kind of handle this thing. So that is an option, Todd. And I was like, absolutely. They may have a deal done with Cleveland that I don't know about. They may have a deal done with the Giants that I don't know about. Because those aren't one of the 2 teams that I talked to that things didn't go well, right? The Vikings are on the clock right now with the final pick. And we will review the entire 3rd round. And he said, basically he was walking through, it's supply demand, and I believe it was Conor who said, like, this, it's a shrinking the pool. Why would you try to shrink the pool unnecessarily? And that's what I've kind of used as my phraseology throughout this entire process. It's never made sense to me. And that's why I say, like, it's good for everyone to hear. It's a reminder, like, no matter what you do, go into it. You never know. And even if you don't want to get this job, your paths may cross. Shedeur something may have happened to his career, and he's a free agent and wants to go somewhere else. And everyone's going to always remember, like, he didn't care about me then. Now I'm a GM. I wasn't at that level. So, like, it's a good reminder to everyone. But you converge all of those things, right? Teams have quarterbacks. Scheme fit isn't perfect. Interviews, he doesn't take them all with the same level of seriousness and preparation as he should have, right? And now you get to the point where it's like, all right, the talent is good. We can win a lot of games with this guy, but it's not great enough. And so I can't pass on a starter in round 1. And maybe early in round 2, because these guys are dudes. They can come in and make a big impact. And we need to win games this year. And I'm not viewing him as a guy who's going to step in day 1 and start. And people in the league, and I've been telling you this from the start. I'm not saying that he's a developmental guy. I'm just saying you don't draft Shedeur Sanders with a set of skills and say he's absolutely it, like Tennessee just drafted Cam Ward, or like Drake May, Jaden Daniels, and Caleb Williams in reverse order a year ago. He's not. It's not that skill level. We just went through it. I showed you the traits. And so all of that added up, and now you have this part, and this is why he's still on the board. Remember Tim Tebow interviewing with the Jets as a backup when he came in, and they were talking about maybe moving him to like a fullback, H-back type role or some special teams. And there was a press conference. What backup quarterback, bottom of the roster guy has a press, you know what I mean? And it wasn't his fault. It was never Tim's fault. It was all the media attention that came with it. Well, that's what we have with Shedeur and all the commercials and Coach Prime's son. And so if you're going to draft him, you better believe that you want to play him either year 1 or year 2 as a starter. And if you don't believe that, now I got to figure out how would I draft him if I like him without him coming in. And, oh, by the way, he's our 4th draft pick. If Cleveland just took him at 94, right? How do I draft him? How do I draft him at pick 94? 1, 2, 3, 4. 5th draft pick in the first 3 rounds. And have him not overshadow Mason Graham, a defensive tackle from Michigan, Carson Swessinger, a linebacker, UCLA, Quinshon Judkins, big name, not that big, Ohio State, Harold Fannin, tight end, Bowling Green. By the way, all 4 players, huge impact starters or in a rotation right away. But everyone in the media wants to go to that locker, right? Is it worth it? That's what it comes down to for these GMs. And we all sit here and we look at our boards and we look at his talent and we say, well, yeah, late first, early second. But there's 32 human beings sitting in those seats who have to deal with all sorts of stuff, man. They got to deal with all the character problems. They're dealing with the psychologist. They're dealing with the medical. They're dealing with their owner. They're dealing with, someone on their staff having the flu. Like they're dealing with, they run the whole organization. And they've got a process and a daily schedule, and it's just like, think about the CEO. And now I'm going to bring in someone, someone that is going to be, that we're going to kind of groom to maybe one day becomes a EVP and then becomes a vice president in this organization. But he's like steps away from that. But when I hire him, it's going to be like national media news. It's just shy of the Tebow stuff in terms of national media attention. And so while he should have gone somewhere in that 21 to 40 range based on skills, and maybe you bump down a little bit because the pool is shrunk because of the scheme that he fits, this is why he's still on the board as we end the 3rd round of the draft. And Ty Felton, wide receiver from Maryland, really good player. Not as good at what he does as Shedeur is at playing quarterback. Savion Jones, really good 5-technique defensive end from LSU. Strong, tough. Help you out versus the run. Not as good at his job as Shedeur Sanders is at playing quarterback. But Shedeur's on the board for all of those reasons that I just explained. Welcome in. And I didn't even mention Jalen Milroe was drafted before him as well. And Jalen Milroe, phenomenal athlete, beautiful deep ball. Jalen Milroe's 2 years minimum from being, if the process goes perfectly with Jalen Milroe in Seattle, he's minimum 2 years away from being in a position to compete for a starting job. But it probably won't be there with Sam Darnold. It probably would be in a situation where he's traded. Jalen Milroe was brought in because he sat at the draft quietly and like no fanfare. Alabama starting quarterback, no fanfare. He was there. He got invited. It was shocking. The media made a thing out of it for a minute or two and then found out that like they invited him and it was an awesome opportunity and he wanted to be there. He didn't care if he got drafted in the first round, second round, third round, just to be there. And how cool would it be to hear my name called? And he's an awesome dude. He's smart as a whip. There's very little not to like about Jalen Milroe, except he's got a lot of work to do in terms of processing the game quickly in the pocket and his accuracy. You see all those muscles there? He needs to get with Tom Brady's people and not to Gold's gym. And I've said this from the beginning, the Brady Quinn, Tim Tebow, Will Levis, pumped up upper bodies. I think now he gets to Seattle. They'll work with him. Flexibility. But Jalen Milroe was willing to, nobody really even knew. It just wasn't a thing that Jalen Milroe was at the draft in Green Bay. Shedeur wasn't at the draft. Shedeur had his big party yesterday, and it didn't go well, and no one likes to see any of this, man. It's I feel terrible for Shedeur. Can you imagine this is your dream your whole life? You've worked your ass off to get here. That young man grinds. He lives this. He studies the tape. He puts in the work. He's out there when, when the lights aren't on and the commercials aren't going and the cameras are, he's actually doing all that work, and he's doing it at a high level, and he's really talented at it. And he takes more hits, more hits than any other college quarterback this year that I saw on tape, and by a large number. And he bounces up every time because he's tough as nails. You don't root against that guy. And so anyone who says that, people are happy that no one who cares about this game and cares about what's going on here, is even within 100 miles of being happy or intrigued. And there are some people in the media who probably think this is great and it's a story and we can talk about this story. Shedeur's still on the board. And I can't stand those people. Absolutely loathe those people. Just like you don't tip picks and you do things a certain way in the right way. When you're in this long, you spend this amount of time getting to know the individuals, the people who are making the decisions, everyone involved. And you study all this tape on one player just to turn that off, finish the report, and do the next player. And you read all these backgrounds, and you read all the different walks of life and all the challenges these humans have had, just like we all have, different levels. Some of them more than a lot of us could even bear. You get to a point where if it's not hurting other people and being bad or terrible to other people or sexually assaulting women, there's a very small group of players that you don't root for, and I promise you Shedeur's not even close to that group. Shedeur's one of the guys you root for, and that's 99% of every prospect that I evaluate. And all the good people that are in this business are the same exact way. I'm looking at Charles Davis right here, one of the nicest, most wonderful men you'll ever meet. Roots for every single one. Daniel Jeremiah, wonderful human being. We all root for all of these young men. We want to see them do their best. I don't want to see Shedeur now have 2 straight nights, have to go back to all of his family and his friends and everyone who's around him in disappointment. But you know what? And granted, it was a different viewing party for Tom Brady, but it devastated him, while also molding him into arguably the best player and quarterback to ever play the game. So maybe this is the moment he needed. Center him, ground him, knock him down, pick himself back up. Because I know this. Watching the guy, he'll pick himself up. That's the one thing I don't question. So I question, can he make that throw from this hash to that? Can he outrun that linebacker? Those are fair questions. I don't question his resolve for a second. So I'm pulling for him. And I don't like to see this for him. But it should not have been a surprise out of round 1 or maybe even late into round 2. This is a surprise. And this sucks for Shedeur. And there we are. Yeah, so let's spin it forward. We've got the rest of the draft to deal with, and unfortunately we'll deal with where Shedeur lands, but now hopefully he gets the spot. But it was very surprising to me, to be completely honest. Not necessarily Seattle. That makes sense. Seattle's now they got a project. Jalen's a special athlete. Jalen's someone that you work with for 2 years, and best case, you wind up, he's like, well, I can't sit him anymore. He's that good. And you trade Sam Darnold. Somewhere in the middle is he plays so well that it's a 10 times better than the Joe Milton situation we just saw in New England. You get a high draft pick for him. And he's won me some games because he stepped in with that mobility, right? He stepped in with that mobility and he found ways to win a couple games. And worst case is I spent the what was it? I spent the 90 or the where was he? I spent the 92nd pick overall on him, and it didn't work out. So that's not surprising. Dylan Gabriel, however. See, here's the thing. When I talked about that shrinking pool and I mentioned Miami and Cleveland, there's a couple of them. There's not a ton of them in the league, but I don't know, 6, 7, 8 that are like, yeah, we're good with that. And then there's a handful of others that are like, I don't have to have. I'd like to have, but I don't have to have that mobility or that arm. But Cleveland was one of the spots, man. And it would be one thing if they did take Jalen Milroe, right? It would be one thing if they took Tyler Shuck. They took Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel's 5'11", 205. I promise you this. Dylan Gabriel processes fast. We joked around, mentioned it's like watching like not the Matrix. Maybe it was the Matrix. The screen up. He processes fast, but not like Shedeur. He doesn't see the game the same way that Shedeur does, I don't think. He's accurate, but he's not as accurate as Shedeur. He's got a little more juice on the ball, to be quite honest, but he's shorter than Shedeur, and he's not very mobile. So it's interesting. But you know what he comes with? Zero fanfare, zero media attention. You know, oh, that's cool. He led him to the college football playoff. But Shedeur is like the Tim Tebow level. And with that comes a lot of money and it comes a lot of fame and opens a lot of doors and does all the. But when it comes to being a backup quarterback in the NFL, not many people are dying to have that. What do we got? These odds? These are the odds. There's no minus anymore. There was a minus something earlier when you were showing me the Raiders when we started today. That was like 5-6 hours ago when we looked at FanDuel before. It was like a minus, what was it, like minus 300 or something like that for the Raiders. Thank you, Tucker, for throwing this up. Now they're all plus 350. That tells you that even FanDuel, that knows everything. FanDuel doesn't have a clue, just like the rest of us, where he's going. All right. Yeah, Mench will be here for the 7th round. How's my Mench Mafia doing? Let's pull up some. What's going on? Is this a whole new thread? It's nothing like being on live. Here we go. Is this? Yeah, we're live right now. Here we go. James Worthy. Alan Saunders. Well, people are mad. I don't really. I'm not sure why anyone could be mad at me for saying all the positive things I just said and just explaining the situation, but that's okay. I understand it. Been through it before. But I'll say this. Now you go to a place as a third-day pick in your Shedeur Sanders, and it absolutely alleviates some of that pressure, and it alleviates some of that there's no longer he was a second-round pick, so he's going to start when he's going to start. So I think he will be one of the first few names off the board. And hopefully overnight they can kind of talk to some teams and figure out what might be the best situation for him, you know? But Mench will be here soon. I went to check on this. Doesn't look like anyone's mad at me necessarily, just kind of mad at the situation. So that's understandable. It is frustrating. And I'm not, and I see what you're saying, V-Sky. Oh, there's Mench.
Let's go. Move over.
All right, perfect. Here we go.
I'm tired of your voice.
Who isn't? What do you think? Should I let him in?
Anything good happen?
I'm curious.
Great nap.
I'm sure you did. Why don't you get a microphone first? No one can hear you.
Underneath. I thought it was loud enough. Let me grab a chair.
Right
good
there.
on drinks? Anything?
Why don't you sit down and start doing your job? My goodness.
So my job is to keep you
You
happy.
get a 9-hour break and you come in here like,
Anything good?
We just talked about Shedeur, so we got that covered for you.
Oh, good.
All right.
I guess not good. I don't know how to describe that
Yeah,
situation.
well, I just did for about 40 minutes. So now we can talk about the draft. What the players who were actually drafted,
Okay.
which is what it should be. And we got a lot of people in here, and I love it. Okay. I want to do this. I want to first ask you, outside of the Shedeur situation, you've been, and everyone was wondering. I didn't mean to sound like I was like hiding what he was doing. He runs a draft tracker for ESPN.com. He's Steve Mench. He is Scouts Inc. He is carrying on that torch, and he's doing a beautiful, wonderful job doing it. And he has been in charge for, I don't know, almost 2 decades now of instant reactions and making sure that when a player's picked, you get the sense of who the player is, how he fits, and everything else. And it is a hard-ass job, and Steve is doing it, and he did it at a high level, I'm certain. I read some of the things already today.
That was nice.
Look at this. This is how I feel.
Look like Jimmy Neutron.
Where's my hat? It's under there, right?
I don't know.
I'm going to get a hat.
Don't bail him out.
My daughter always says, Dad, you're doing it again. You've been working too much. That's what I do.
All right. How many did you get out of your top 100?
I don't know. I haven't looked yet.
I was really hoping I could just say one more than you. I just want to say one more than you.
All right. Now we're serious. How many did you get, Mench?
I don't know yet.
Why don't you actually talk about the draft for a minute? And maybe I can get some of my stuff done.
Some things that were popping out to me as they were going. As much as I gave the Patriots a hard time about the Will Campbell pick, they seem to have a really good night.
They had a great. Yeah, give me we're gonna get into teams in a minute.
Okay.
Was there a theme? Was there one pick? Was there something interesting?
Well, I mean, I think the most fascinating pick, and it ties into what you were talking about, so I don't know if you really want to get into it, but
go ahead.
Is the Browns taking Dylan Gabriel?
Yeah, so I just went on a long rant, and I explained both sides. I explained the shrinking pool. I explained all the things that happened that led to him to getting to the second, maybe middle second round. Okay?
Yeah. It's not even about Shedeur for me, though.
No, I know.
Okay.
No. And then I explained the media attention and what comes with bringing in a backup quarterback and the Tim Tebow issue and all those other things. And from the middle of the second, or from when they got past the Raiders, maybe in the late second, to the end of the third round, I believe it's an awful lot of attention. It's like the Tim Tebow doing the interview with the Jets when he's brought in to maybe be like a special teams guy and maybe do some like H-back stuff.
Right. What are we talking about now? Yeah.
It's just a lot. It's a lot. So I think that has factored into why he has fallen out. And I was explaining, and I went through some of the names. Like, it's not, you can't tell me I love William and Mary. I love them as a rival. I love developmental left tackles. You can't tell me Charles Grant is better at his job as a developmental left tackle than Shedeur is as a quarterback. He's not.
Right.
So it goes beyond the football and the traits and all those things. And people want to call it other things. It truly is about, as a general manager, there's 32 of them, right? There's 32. As a general manager, you've got to manage everything in your organization, and that becomes a lot to bring on for a backup quarterback.
Right.
And so when you have someone with and I said the pool was small in part because of the interviews. The pool was small in part because of his talent level. But mostly, and the pool was small because there are some teams that just don't need that position at their company. I talked about it from a corporate view. When I've got Josh Allen, I don't need that position in my company. Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts were some of the names I was giving out, right? But and I understand the Jalen Milroe thing. We're not trying to bring in a backup. Yep, because this is a developmental guy who we can trade down the line. We can win games in the meantime. Or, like, best case, we got a really tough situation on our hands with Sam Darnold and Jalen Milroe because Jalen's awesome right now.
Mm-hmm.
But when Gabriel was picked, that's when I said, Tucker, turn the thing on. We got to talk.
Yeah.
Okay? Because Dylan Gabriel is cut from the same cloth, and it's the same scheme guy. And I told you, Mike McDaniel, Kevin Stefanski, it works. Undersized, not the biggest, not the strongest arm, not the most mobile, works. You can win a lot of games with Tua. You can win a lot of games with Kirk Cousins. You can win a lot of games, as Stefanski and McDaniel have done.
Yeah, I thought Will Howard, though. I thought that there were still better options, though.
No, but my point is this, Mench. That's when it told me definitively that the same type of scheme, same type of trait person in Dylan Gabriel as Shedeur Sanders, and we all know Shedeur is a better player.
Okay.
A prospect.
Right.
Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to a single person in the league, not one, who's ever said that Dylan Gabriel is even in the same neighborhood as Shedeur Sanders.
I agree.
And it's the media attention that will come with this backup quarterback that we just don't want to deal. Not that we don't want to deal with Shedeur. Yes, he burned a couple bridges along the way. But it's the media attention that's going to come with Shedeur. Tim Tebow's a likable guy, easy to get along with. Actually kind of unassuming when you meet him in person. Like, no way, shape, or form is he going to cause a problem. But what comes with Tim Tebow was the problem for a lot of organizations. They're like, listen, I love Tim. I'm interested in, like, using him in different roles, all that. After people in the league figured out it's just not going to work as a starting quarterback. But, yeah, I'd like to try him some different places. He's a competitive son of a gun. One of the best college football players I've ever seen play the game. Great short yardage runner.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something we can do with him. But is what I'm going to get on the field worth all of that? And I think that's what's going on right now. In fact, I'm certain of it. I don't want to dance around. Call it whatever you want. It was about the shrinking pool, and then it became the media.
Right.
All right. I got 87 of my top 100.
I got 85.
Oh!
Damn. I'm getting close, though. I'm
Way
closer than I
closer.
was last year, right?
Way closer.
Yeah. I'm getting there.
Good on
This is
you.
my second year doing it.
Good on you. And I didn't even...
I actually thought 85 might be low, though. I was like, he probably got like 92.
No, I was worried about getting like 83, 84 this
There was
year.
a couple guys that came in at the end, right?
I didn't even see the end.
Yeah.
I just got in my ear that it was 87. Oh, Mench.
I had 85.
All right.
Can we talk about the Ohio State backs in the early second?
We can in a second. I do
Okay.
want to give you a little bit of love, though.
Okay.
The player that you have been on my ass about, and we'll get to the best available, but the player you were on my ass about the most this year, and I wasn't anti, but you just had a thing for him. An absolute heater for Pat Bryant, Illinois.
Yeah, how about
when
that?
he went 74, I was like, good on you, Mench.
I didn't have him in my top 100, though.
That's early, third.
Yeah.
Early.
Yeah.
Tell the world and tell Denver fans exactly what they're getting in Pat Bryant, then we'll start our show.
I mentioned it before. Like, people are always like, oh, who's your Puka Nakua this year? Who's your that player or this player? And it's like, well, dude, you can't predict those kind of things because Puka went as late as he did for a reason. You know, he didn't run that well, and people were concerned. Pat Bryant ran, I think, the second slowest 40 of the receivers of the combine. He was in the low 4.6s. But then I put on the tape, and here's a guy who's averaging over 18 yards in the Big Ten and just making plays all over the place. And I was like, man, this guy just plays faster than he timed. This is going to be one of those dudes that falls in the draft and obviously I thought he was going to fall farther than the third. I really thought the workout was going to knock him out of the top 100. I thought he was going to be a day 3 guy. But again, plays faster on tape, gets downfield, catches passes, gets open for a good-sized receiver. Not huge, but a good-sized receiver. He gets open. I'm psyched. I think he's going to be a really good player. I think it was smart that they took him. I'm trying to remember who took him. It was just before San Francisco. Denver. Yeah, I think they're going to get a hell of a player.
All right, I want to go through some things.
And then I think you think about Sean Payton, what he can do with them. I love that pick.
Man, I just went on a heater. How long was I talking about the Shedeur situation? That was like an epic rant. I got it out of my system, though. It's official. It's done. You can clip Eduardo, clip it all up, baby. Clip it however you want. It's all true, and I believe in all of it, and all of it should be shared. And I've been kind of like, I don't want it to overshadow everything else. But now we're done with the first 3 rounds. Let's get it all out. Let's move and turn the page. Next play, as I always say at home. Next play. A couple things I wanted to mention. 3rd round picks. I really wanted to get these 3 out there.
Okay.
That I really loved. And if there's 1 or 2 you want to add, but tonight we are about
boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, we're not chopping wood tonight. We're popping corn. Savone Revel. 76 overall. I know he had the injuries. I love this guy on tape. He's tall. He's long. Dallas fans, that cornerback is going to wind up. I mean, hopefully he's ready to go immediately. I read the doctor's report. I literally read the doctor's report. I talked to multiple teams. They think he's going to be good. Obviously, there's got to be some concern because he is a first-round talent. And his ability to press and the way he had developed from 23 to 24, I'm looking at the wrong camera. I watched 2023 and I'm like, there's a lot to work here, and then I purposely watched 2023 this year. I watched the first season 2023, and then I was like, all right, here's 2024. It's almost like watching a movie, but you fast forward like a half hour, and you just hope that your favorite character, things are going well for him. And I was hoping that he was a little bit more physical, better with his hands and press. And from the first 5 snaps, I was like, yep, he worked, and I just love him. And I'll never forget SMU 2023 tape. If you want to laugh, if you could somehow out there can get your hands on SMU 2023 tape, even if you're just watching the game, fast forward to every deep ball, and there's like 20 of them. I think they tried to throw like 9 or 10. Same rail routes down the right side, down the left side. And they got him on 1. But do you know how weird it is to watch a game where someone attacks the best cornerback, maybe the best player on the entire field, 9 times, 3-step drop and chuck? And he was like 8 for 9. I love Jalen Knoll. We'll come back. We'll come back to that. But getting Jalen Knoll, who I had as the 3rd best receiver in this class, and I knew he was going to go late. I had no problem. I didn't think he would go this late. But Jalen Knoll. We'll talk about him when we get to Houston. And then Pittsburgh, I like that pick. Zone blocking scheme, Caleb Johnson, really good fit. Couldn't get Travion Henderson, didn't have a 2nd-round pick, got your defensive tackle early. I like that pick for Pittsburgh, but I'm not going to bring them up. Anyone else you want to touch on before I get to teams?
Les Snead went out last year and got the Defensive Rookie of the Year in Jared Verse in the 1st round.
Yep.
He got Braden Fisk, the defensive tackle, who's going to be a difference maker in the 2nd round. And then this year he takes Josiah Stewart from Michigan, the edge, in the 3rd round. And I just think about just Josiah Stewart at outside linebacker in that scheme, opposite of Jared Verse. That could be a home run pick. I mean, Stewart is a dog. He is explosive. You think he's a little undersized? When you watch him on tape, the first thing that comes to mind is power. He is just physical coming off the edge. And who does that remind you? I mean, I think about Jared Verse against LSU. The year before he came out, just running over dudes.
Oh my gosh!
And Stewart's the same way. He's not very big, but he will run right through your face mask, and that could be a potential home run pick for them. And then I also liked Arizona's not messing around building up that front, man. They got Walter Nolan in the 1st round. They get Jalen Burch now. They signed Josh Sweat. They signed Calais Campbell. I think Jordan Burch. I had a 2nd-round grade on him. I think he's an absolute steal in the middle of the 3rd. I don't even know where they can play him. It's a good problem to have. I think you can play him anywhere in that defensive front, whether it's that outside linebacker or the defensive end position. You could even kick them inside when they go to 4-man fronts. They're going to be multiple. I thought
Arizona was on one of the teams I was going to get to, so we'll cover it now.
It's a home.
It's a risk but value draft.
Right.
It's a risk but value draft. Walter Nolan comes with some of the character stuff. Will Johnson comes with some of the injury stuff.
But you get him in the second.
But we're about to take another step, Arizona. I got news for you. This team's a lot better than people think. The Cardinals are better than people think. And I think Gannon has got, I just like the program he runs. I like the way they play. And they brought in Calais Campbell, as my good friend Steve Mench pointed out yesterday. And it's a great point because now not only is he going to help Walter Nolan develop, he's going to show him how to be a pro. And what work has to go into becoming a great pro, like Calais has been for 47 years now.
He's like, easy, man.
And then Will Johnson at cornerback is a perfect scheme fit. That combo man zone, the things that they do, play in cushion, eyes in front. And then Jordan Birch is another guy who I see the traits. I didn't like the way he was used. I'll be interested to see how they use him. I think he's better outside than inside. I think Calais is going to help him too.
Agree.
All right. Here's some of the teams. I don't want to say I ranked them. I was going through them. A lot of picks coming in. I'm crossing off my top 100 board. I'm going through the needs and all that. But they're kind of in the range of where I think so far. I don't do winners. I don't do grades. I will never do grades. I can talk about the teams that I think came away with the most. And there's some head-scratching picks. And we'll get to – by the way, we're back with Russillo tomorrow, 3 to 5. If you want to have a real good time, 3 to 5 Eastern time, noon to 3 local. We're going to be at Russillo's house. Ryan Russillo been nice enough to open up his doors for us to come in. That's what everyone would say. Forget that. We're banging down the doors. We're going into Russillo's house. We're leaving breadcrumbs when we walk out and cameras and lights and
popcorn,
broken glasses. But we're going to have an awesome time with Russillo's house. It's going to be a fun hang. We're going to do some of the review stuff, talk about some of the topics. It's just going to be a fun couple of hours. In the middle of the draft when it gets a little bit old. And now we're down to
my guess,
slippery tech left guards.
The disrespect.
No, it's not disrespect. That was the old Richmond coach's
guard
thing.
Disrespect.
Slippery tech. We're going to be there from 3 to 5. Then on Sunday we're coming back in the morning. I think Marissa and Tucker are working it out right now. Tucker said he wanted to come in early. He's got big plans. Big plans. He's got a big Sunday planned. Home Depot, Bed Bath & Beyond, all of it. So we got to get in early Sunday. But we're going to knock that out, but it's going to take a while. Everything we do, it's going to take a while because we're going to go to all 32 teams, and we're going to dive in and let you know what really happened. So for now, I just want to kind of not hit some teams that jumped out to me, the things they're doing, the way they're structuring it. And I want to start with the Cleveland Browns. My goodness, Cleveland. Hats, nod, Andrew Berry. The easy thing to do is to stay at 2 and take Shohei Ohtani. And at the time, I was like, good on you, onions, Kuyans. And it did take onions and Kuyans for James Gladstone to move up. But he also, while he was grabbing the onions and Kuyans, he was also giving away, it was a heist. And Cleveland was on the receiving end of that heist. And they got Mason Graham. Carson Schlesinger, I like him. I see the role. It was early for me. But then Quinshon Judkins at running back, the power that they want to have. Now we're a power football team with Myles Garrett and adding Mason Graham and Schlesinger in the middle helping out, who can cover in instincts and do a lot of those things. And now Harold Fannin in the middle of the field. We are building the guts of this team, man. We're adding to the guts of this team. Now we got you get 2 weapons on offense. You know what Harold Fannin is? Probably the best runner after catch in terms of I guess you could say Tyler Warren with a different style, but he is so productive after the catch. Great ball skills. So now we got Judkins and we got Fannin after the 2 really good picks early on. And the most important thing, folks, and yeah, I guess Dylan Gabriel was not. The most important thing is we got a first rounder next year. So you get all of that in a first rounder next year. Next team, Chicago Bears. Colston Loveland. Bears fans! Bears fans! I told you you were going to like it. It's not exactly how I drew it up. But I told you the 2 tight ends were going to be available. I thought maybe there was a chance. Ashton Ginty, I've been talking too much. Ashton Ginty would be there too. He wasn't. They tried to move up, presumably for him. But they got Colston Loveland. That's an awesome fit for what Ben Johnson's doing. Luther Burden. We talked about Deebo Samuel.
Another weapon.
Another weapon. And now we got the 3 interior offensive linemen. I love what they're doing. And then the last guy on the shelf. Remember I told you the shelf was going to drop off, and when it did, it went pew.
Right.
The last guy on the shelf after Ursery, after even Big Jonah, who's a guard, but after some guys, I knew, but on my list it was Trapillo and then Trapillo, and then it was like the numbers went down like 20, from like an 84 grade to like a 69 or something.
Yep.
And they got Trapillo, who's going to be a starting right guard at some point. Starting right tackle and could be maybe a guard.
Yeah.
I like what they're doing.
I'm surprised they didn't take 3 defensive players with the way you were talking the other day. They went out and got their guy, 3 offensive players right to go. And by the way, don't miss the fact that defensive tackle is one of their most pressing needs, and they got Shamar Turner out of Texas A&M late in the second round. I think he's going to be a heck of a player for them.
Yes. Did I not have that?
You didn't mention it. Maybe you did have it. But you got weapons for Ben Johnson. You got a young offensive tackle you can develop. And, and I love that they're not messing around. You have a young quarterback, a talented new offensive-minded coach. We're not taking any chances with the offensive line. Did a great job through free agency. Get another offensive tackle here, and then get the weapons. Perfect for me. And then again, fill one of your greatest needs with a player late in the second round who I think is going to be a rookie starter.
What do you think of Seattle's draft so far?
The Milroe pick, let me pull up the other ones. I love the Milroe pick because they're the perfect team for it. Sam Darnold's on a 3-year deal. They don't need him to do anything early. I like Nick Emanwari. I think he's a really good fit for the scheme. I love the player. Elijah Arroyo, you might not look at that and be like, maybe they don't need a tight end.
I'm sorry. I just got to respond. It's the funniest thing I've seen all day. And
what?
I needed to laugh. I'm right back to you.
Okay. Should I keep going, or do you want to?
Who was it that just said Eli Betts on the chat? This is why I can't watch the chat while we do this. I can't do both. It's like texting and driving. Eli Betts said the entire state of Boston is ass. I needed a laugh. I'm sorry. Carry on.
Oh my God, the Arroyo pick I love in the middle of the second round because you got Noah Fant going into his last year, and to me he's just too good of a player to pass on. You know?
Yes.
You have to you just take him there. This was a draft where it shows that John Schneider is planning always for the future and not just for a need, what we need this year, all that stuff. You could have easily gone on another position in the middle of the second round than tight end. They didn't have to do that. But he's too good. He's too good of a value to pass on. And do you love the idea that he finds another quarterback in the third round?
It's the Wolf plan.
Since 2012. I mean, he did in 2012 with Russell Wilson. Now he's going to do it again with Jalen Milroe.
Yes. Yeah, and it's how he was raised. I said to you when they traded Geno, and I remember having this conversation. We were writing something for the McShay report. You got it's 9 here. It's you actually have 2 minutes. You have 2 minutes. $1 the McShay report. Google it immediately. $1, you get all the content through.
1 minute. I'm looking at the official clock.
Literally 57 seconds. McShay report. You get the early mock draft, way too early mock draft.
Sprint.
And the entire review for all 32 teams. But I was talking to Dan. I was talking to Dan a while ago when we were reacting to the Geno Smith move. And I saw the accumulation of picks, and I went back to the Super Bowl that he built, the Super Bowl roster that he built, John Schneider. And I said they've been kind of plucking and dishing and doing. And I just get the sense sometimes you go back to what got you great.
Right.
And he was and I told you, I met him with Jim Nagy, worked with him in Green Bay. He's a scout. He's a freaking scout, man. And sometimes it's just in your blood.
Right.
And it's like, give me more picks. Let me move around the board. Identify a couple guys. He moved up for Emanwari. He got Elijah Arroyo. That's the timer. I set the timer for 9 p.m. Pacific. The McShay report. Now you got to pay full bucks. I mean, life's all about opportunities.
Full bucks.
Full bucks. Full bucks. It's official.
New deal. It's called
McShay
$4.
report. Google. It's $4. And $4. It's $4 now for the month. Opportunity, preparation. Got to meet.
Here we go.
It's late. But it was all about John Schneider going back to his roots, and he was going to maneuver around this draft, and it's exactly what I expected. And of course, just throw in a quarterback,
Talented young quarterback.
Yep. Who's a value piece. Houston Texans. I kind of love what they did, and I want to pull this damn tracker, man. I can't click on a team.
I don't love their last pick. I was lower on Jalen Smith than I think other people, but the first three are home runs.
Home runs. Jalen Smith, he went where?
Late third.
99?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Or 97 maybe, but yeah.
I mean, they took my two favorite receivers, my absolute favorite, the teammates from Iowa State.
Teammates.
Reunited. Feels so good. Jaden Higgins, wide receiver, 6'4", and juice. Ran in the 4.4s. We talked about him earlier today, folks. Great release package off the line of scrimmage. Can run past you at that size, the 33-plus inch arm length. Contested catches, 20 of them this last year. Led the Big 12. Jalen Noel.
Don't say it like that.
Jalen Noel.
In the middle of the third, huh?
I couldn't believe it. It was the steal of the entire draft. Everyone wants to talk about Shedeur and the quarterback. But when you get Jalen Noel, and he's going to come in and he's going to break NFL cornerbacks' ankles with his routes and his savvy and his 4.39 speed and his explosion. And, yeah, it's not the biggest catch radius, but I got that on the other side. Now those two complement each other. And by the way, I got Nico Collins. He missed 5 games last year, but he's coming back.
Yeah, no, you're good. Christian Kirk, you traded for,
Christian Kirk. So now CJ's got dudes.
Yes.
Big and small. We got 2 bigs, 2 smalls.
Are you concerned they didn't get any offensive linemen?
Ariante
Oh, they did. Sorry, yeah, they got the tackle. That's right.
That's my point. When I saw this, so now we got 2 weapons.
I was thinking guards, but yeah.
I get 2 weapons. And I get protection.
Mm-hmm.
And they've made a lot of moves on the offensive line. But Ursary is a left tackle. He eventually will be their left tackle starter. Write that down today. Not now, not this year, but he can play maybe right. He can kick in the guard. I love his traits. That's a Houston. Nick Caserio gave us some time on our show.
And
awesome sit down with him.
Let's not overlook the fact that when they got to 25 and you're looking for an offensive tackle or wide receiver, the value's not there.
Knew the board.
Get out.
He knew the board.
Just
so much of
out.
this is managing the board. I watched a couple players get picked today. I'm like, yeah, they're good players. I said we're in that auditorium. I'm like, take him in the 5th.
Right. Move
good
back.
Player in the 5th. You got to know the board. That's part of that job when you're sitting in one of those 32 chairs.
There were some guys that managed the board really
Nick
well.
Caserio did a hell of a job with that. I like New Orleans, man. And Kelvin Banks is not my cup, but he's plenty of people's cups. So maybe I'm just wrong on Kelvin Banks. Maybe he's a lot better than I think. I see the talent. We'll see if it all comes together.
Yeah, some of our guys went there, yeah.
But Tyler Shuck, and I could make this the whole Shuck show. Jimmy Shuck Corn, and I don't care. Tyler Shuck is potentially starting week 1.
Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting to see how they handle that. You could go with Rattler. He had lost all 6 of his starts last year, though. You're almost better just taking a swing with Shuck.
I'm telling you, there's something to watch out for. And they sat there patiently.
Yeah.
Mickey Loomis. He's like, oh, yeah, you want to talk about me? The wild card, the renegade? I'm just going to sit here in 40 and get my guy. And he did. And he got his guy. Vernon Broughton, but Jonas Sanker. I love Jonas Sanker. That was another pick. That's why I added
Jonas.
Jonas, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Jonas Sanker. Thank you. He hits. He thumps, and he's fast on a line.
Mm-hmm.
He'll bring some physicality. So you got better in the trenches. You got your quarterback potentially. That could be the steal of this draft. I've been saying it since January. And you get some tough guys up the middle of that defense. How about your Pats? I know you don't want to hear it.
Talk about them.
I know you don't want to hear it. Will Campbell's got short arms. I see it on tape. You cross his face and he's going to get beat. He's got to be a guard. He's going to get Joe Tooney to death.
You said the same things.
Yeah, but you whined about it. I'm joking. Travion Henderson. You know what the deal is?
Your guy.
And maybe it's because I live in the market and I'm not a fan of any of the 32. But I do watch, like, sometimes they're on more. And I have the ticket and all those. But they're like, and I just watch a bunch of slow dudes on the perimeter and skill guys in New England. Even when they were winning a lot, there was a bunch of slow dudes from, honestly, since Randy Moss left. Mm-hmm. Speed. So they got their offensive. You have one asset above all others. I've said it before. The Kraft family knows this organization has 3 major assets. The cornerback, Christian Gonzalez, is 3rd. The head coach, Mike Vrabel, is 2nd. The quarterback, Drake May, is 1st. So let's take care of the number 1 asset. Let's protect him with Will Campbell.
Right.
Let's protect him with Jared Wilson. I'm curious in a second to get that. But then let's give him speed. Let's give speed that New England, that people in Foxborough going to, like, the hard-working ladies and gentlemen from the New England area descending on Foxborough, Massachusetts, going down Route 1, dealing with the nightmare traffic and everything involved. They haven't seen speed in their colored jersey in so long. And Henderson's a 4-4-1, 1-5-2-10 split burner. Close your eyes, Patriots fans. Do it with me. Think about the last time you saw an individual in a Patriots jersey get a screen pass against a top-flight defense and run 70 yards into the end zone. You can't, right? Well, Henderson did that against Texas
in the college
football playoff, and he's a nasty dude.
I mean,
and Kyle Williams,
love him.
Kyle Williams can run, and he's quick, and he's something that he's got juice. Wilson.
I think he's so underrated. He's a 1-year starter. I wonder if that scared teams off. And if you look at New England, where are you going to play him? You signed Garrett Bradbury to play center. You got Cole Strange, who was a first-round pick in 2022. He might be the guy that they're looking for some competition. Mike Onwenu kicks back inside where he's a better fit. He plays tackle and guard. He's a better fit on the inside. I don't care. Figure out a way to protect Drake May. Do whatever you have to do.
Your best 5.
Weapons? Offensive line, have options, man. I think that's it's a great problem to have. If the New England Patriots, if you told New England Patriots fans a year ago that now they would have too many offensive linemen, and they were trying to figure out how to get the best 5 on the field, they would have been stoked.
Yes,
stoked.
All right, I'm told.
Can I say this really quick though?
Yeah. We have 8 minutes left.
I loved Quinshon Judkins went ahead of Henderson. I think we both had Henderson higher.
Absolutely,
but I love where they land.
Me
Judkins
too.
goes to Cleveland where they need a primary ball carrier, a guy who can carry 25 to 40 carries a game, a guy who's a lot like Nick Chubb.
40 carries. What is it, 1992?
I'm telling you, that's the kind of thing you could do with him.
If you want
to say 20, he's not going to average 40, but I'm saying.
Well, honestly, in Cleveland, he might have to.
That's my point. You're going to have, with Joe Flacco quarterback, you're going to have to get downhill with that running game. He can handle a heavy workload. That's not Henderson. Henderson's, like you've said a million times, Jahmyr Gibbs. He's kind of that complimentary piece. You send him to New England where they have Stevenson, who had an underwhelming year and needs to stop fumbling. But if you can get Stevenson back to where he was 2 years ago, and I think Mike Vrabel's kind of the guy who could do that. If you get him back there and you have those 2 backs complimenting each other, and then Antonio Gibson as a 3rd, watch out.
All right, Patriots show's over. Giants.
I was talking about the Ohio State backs, but go ahead.
We get 7. we get 7 minutes left. I want to rip through a few teams. Tell me if something jumps out. Cut me off, and tell me if there's another team that you want to cover. The Giants, I love what they've done, and it's fairly obvious. And I talked about it ad nauseum yesterday, so I don't want to bore you with Joe Shane doing his job, Brian Daboll being allowed to do his job, picking the quarterback, Shane managing the whole thing, and hats off to John Mara, letting his football people make football decisions and working it out. Whatever went on, and no one needs to know. Like any good organization, there should be strife. There should be strong opinion, very intelligent people know what they're doing. Who cares how it got done? It got done. They got Abdul Carter and their quarterback in Jackson Dart. But the reason I put them on this list to talk about today, Darius Alexander. I did not think he'd get to round 3, and I like that fit for the Giants, who've got edge guys with Burns and Thibodeau and Carter, and now Darius Alexander, and can use him like 20 snaps a game as a rookie. And you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Never have enough rushers against Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott. Like, this makes football sense to me. Chargers, Joe Ortiz.
Yeah.
Love the man. Love the picks. Omarion Hampton, second best back in this class. He's going to have to pound the rock for that Jim Harbaugh offense, and that's what Jim's decided. Jim's decided that we're not getting beat the way we got beat last. We're gonna pound the rock more. We're going to protect up the middle and let our long levered quarterback, when he makes throws, make impact throws. And Trey Harris. And we don't always have to make throws 15, 17, 25 yards down the field. We can make 3 and turn it into 9.
He's a Harbaugh player, too. He's rugged.
Rugged, big, physical. I know you love Trey Harris. And I even like Jamari Caldwell fitting that scheme.
It's a little early, but they need to shore up. This is the thing.
Him.
They have to. You had him there?
Yeah.
I had him way down the board. That there were better defensive tackles available. But he's great against the run.
That's what I'm saying.
Great against the run, and they need to shore up their run defense. I'm just not sure how good he will be against the pass. He had 6.5 sacks 2 years ago at Houston, but he went to Oregon and had no sacks.
This is going to be a more physical team that looks a little bit more like Michigan than it did last year.
Right.
I guess my
little more of his identity. You can say Michigan. You can say old
Stanford, 49ers, all of it.
He's starting to put his stamp on it.
Big physical
And Ortiz
receiver.
is helping him get there.
Correct. That was my whole point in this.
They are rowing in the same direction.
Exactly. Vegas. I mean, it's perimeter guys and big play guys and all that. It's Vegas, baby. Ashton Ginty, though. Call it whatever you want. Call it. Do they have the luxury? Like, Pete Carroll's here to win. We told you from the start. Jack Besh, pick 58, exactly the value we thought he would come off the board.
Yeah.
He's going to be a number 2, number 3. He's going to be a possession guy, tough, block his ass off, all the things. Darian Porter. Is there a better fit?
My concern is I think they need a guy to start right now. But if you get Porter to where he can go.
If Reek Woolen can start as a rookie in Seattle after that garbage tape I watched of his at UTSA.
Not that bad.
That tape was not, hey, I'm ready to go start in the NFL. That's like, we're in a year, maybe we'll get him in a sub package and then work him in. He's got a plan. They've got a plan for him. Buffalo Bills. Love Maxwell Hairston. They needed a corner desperately. I don't know how in the world Hairston fell to them there. If he's able to stay healthy, I know slender frame, all of that. But I want you to take the floor here because these are 2 guys, and especially the first. Okay?
Yeah.
I think I'm right. They're both picks, 41 and 62. Is that right? The defensive tackles are right.
Yeah.
TJ Sanders and Shamar Turner, right? For Buffalo. Is that right?
Hold on. What are you saying now? I thought you were talking about the other 2.
TJ Sanders was a Buffalo pick at 41, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
And Turner was for the Bears.
I was going to say that was fascinating to me. Maybe not. So, all right. So carry on about TJ Sanders, and I'll clean up the mess.
I went on a long rant about how I think that TJ Sanders is a first-round pick, and the reason why I think that is because he's a little undersized, but he can win in so many different ways. He's scheme versatile. He can 2-gap. He can 1-gap. He's got really good hands. He gets in the backfield. I think he's got some upside as a pass rusher.
That's what it is.
He ended up going with the ninth pick in the second round. Not that far off, man.
Yeah.
So I think they got a
your guy.
Yeah, they got a really good player there, and I think Landon Jackson in the 3rd round. You think he's a little? He needs to get a little tougher against the run.
I think you have to. I don't think he's the toughest run defender in the world.
Right. He didn't end up in a 3-4. I thought he could play a 4-eye and a 3-4 and defensive end of base 4-man, which is what he ended up in.
I'm fine. A base 4-3. Yeah, but either way, I actually like him with his hand out of the dirt.
And you have to protect against Bosa getting hurt again. I know they signed Bosa to start opposite Greg Rousseau. Greg Rousseau is awesome. But if Bosa stays healthy, and you have Landon Jackson now as your 3rd, I mean, to get him in the third round, I think is a great pickup.
And then Malachi Starks, Mike Green at 59 in a market.
I'm glad you said it.
It's okay. Mike Green in the 59. Like Baltimore, it's just.
I didn't want to bring it up because I feel like
it's not a lot of headaches, and we don't have to get into all the other stuff. Mike Green's one of the 20 best players in this entire draft class. There's never been any charges. I don't know the backstory. I know it just became a media issue, and hopefully Mike Green has never done anything to hurt another female, and hopefully Mike Green never does anything to hurt another female. I only bring it up because he brought it to the national attention of the media at the combine. But the bottom line is, at 59, there's a risk reward, and at that point, Baltimore felt comfortable. I'm certain, and we know a lot of people there. The background checks are as good as everyone. Very comfortable with the situation, and a lot of this is about press too, and how you're going to manage it. And at 59 in Baltimore, this works. And all of a sudden, of course, Baltimore gets Malachi Starks.
Unbelievable.
At 27 and Mike Green at 59.
Unbelievable. I'm not an Emory Jones guy, but I don't hate him there. I don't hate him late in the third.
Late in the third.
What about Washington?
What about?
Picking late. They only had 2 picks.
Yep.
And they ended up getting Oregon offensive tackle Josh Connolly at the end of the first.
I love that.
And Ole Miss corner Trey Amos, who a lot of people thought could go at the end of the first. Late in the second.
I was talking to some folks.
They hit home runs on both of their picks.
Washington. I was like, this is a new territory for you guys. I hope you're patient. I hope you learn from some of the other organizations, and not necessarily Howie. But Baltimore I gave as an example. I said they're not far away, and I hope that your organization, and I also praised everyone from the ownership on down. What they're doing in Washington is nothing short of remarkable, undoing what that horrible human being Daniel Snyder did.
Culture is an overused word, I think, but it's a thing. It is a real thing.
And nothing more is more true. And they were patient, and they waited, and now they got 2 damn good football players. That organization is ascending like
rapidly.
A rocket ship. I mean, you guys are awesome, and we're not bad in return. You got to admit. You got to admit, man. I mean, it's past midnight, and we're still grinding. We're still knocking it out. Love spending time with you. Thanks for spending time with us. I'm sorry that I was, stale and boring. It wasn't the Mench Mafia. Doesn't like it when Mench isn't around, and I understand it because I don't either. I love this man, and we love doing this for you guys, and we will be back tomorrow. Hey, come if you're still there, look at me right now. Give me that camera. Give me that camera. At noon Pacific, 3 p.m. tomorrow, we are going to have some fun with Russillo. Who knows what's going to happen? There's no rundown. I have no idea I don't care if we review the NFL or we just mess around with them for 2 straight hours. But it's going to be fun. Come join us. I've done 20-something third days of the draft. It's just a lot of people reading their notes and screaming at you about play packages that poor people have set and grinded out and have done all the work. It's going to be a more fun hang. Come hang with us. Thank you.
Is he running? Is he running?
We're going to make him run.
Okay.
See you.
Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. Or 18 plus and present in D.C. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.